Welcome to Wickedly Smart and Woefully Stupid,
where we chase the patterns that could save us.
and call out the ones dragging us down.
I'm Wendy Peterman, and I see everything through the lens of nature.
And I'm Harvey Stone, and I can't stop imagining better ways to govern ourselves. Yeah.
Every week, we look at the wickedly smart solutions.
And the woefully stupid mistakes, because desperate times call for disparate measures.
Wildly different thinking for a world that's woefully off track.
So today, Wendy, let's talk about Apollo 13.
Okay, we're ready. We're going to talk about Apollo 13 finally. Okay, so full disclosure, I am afraid of being stuck in space. That's probably because there were so many movies about it when I was a child. So when you said we should watch Apollo 13 for this episode, I was pretty skeptical.
That's fascinating because I'm the opposite. I want to be in space. I still have hopes of being the first uh, senior in space.
You
But
you
anyway,
keep
let me
that.
ask you, you watched it anyway, the film?
I
The
did.
film?
I did. Okay. So here's the thing. I watched it thinking it would just be like an exciting disaster movie like Armageddon. But what really grabbed me about it was how much it felt like a metaphor for where we are right now in 2025.
Well, that's exactly why I wanted to talk about it. As you probably know, this is the 30th anniversary of the release
Hmm.
of the film. And
Yeah,
they just released it in IMAX. I actually watched it in IMAX. It was so much more powerful than 10 years ago, 20 years ago when I actually did watch it.
that sounds cool.
But what mostly I understood more of what really went on with that whole mission, right?
Hmm.
What happened, what the problems were, how the
Hmm.
solutions were.
Hmm.
And since then, I really haven't been able to stop thinking about it because I think that mission is us, that this is where we are as a global economy, as a planet.
So we're a spacecraft in crisis with everyone watching to see if we make it back alive.
Exactly. What a story that is, right?
Right.
Are we going to make it back or not?
I don't know.
So anyway, let's set the scene for anyone who doesn't really know the story, Apollo
Okay.
13. We'll keep this quick. Okay.
Right.
So at heart, it was a real mission. It took place about
Yeah.
17 months after Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon.
Hmm.
And so the three astronauts were on their way to the moon when, try and picture this. They're
Hmm.
in the spacecraft, I guess, going 17,500 miles an
See,
hour,
this
and
is
there's
what
an
I'm afraid of.
explosion in the spacecraft.
Right.
I mean, can you picture you? I don't know what I would do in
Oh,
that situation, but I
I
think
would
it
just
wouldn't be
freak out.
good. Anyway, the explosion blew out a whole section of the space capsule. Right?
Right.
There's still other sections that they move into, right?
Right.
And it caused massive problems, as you can imagine, in
Uh-huh.
particular with the buildup of carbon dioxide in
Right.
the spacecraft, right?
Right.
The gas mixtures, the oxygen supply, all of that. That everything could go wrong, that everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Right. And that was a spacecraft with, you told me, 3 million parts.
That's what they say, 3 million parts. Can you even imagine that?
No.
And do you know how many people actually worked in putting the whole mission together and the whole Apollo mission, to be fair?
No.
Like 400,000 people?
God.
I think you
Wow.
once told me that's this, entire population of Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, and it's really hard for me to imagine everyone in Portland working together on anything other than a protest.
But here's what really blows my mind. The whole thing was done, hard to believe here, without AI.
What?
I know. I mean, those of us who are living through AI and learning to use it. I mean, this is pre-computers. As we know
Yeah,
them.
it's
The astronauts
crazy.
basically described it as being shot into space in a washing machine.
A washing machine with 3 million parts, though, assembled by 400,000 people without any artificial intelligence.
Yes. See, now this is a category, an example of the category I believe of wickedly smart.
Yeah,
That we human
yeah,
beings could actually figure this out on our own,
I know, it's crazy.
basically without even computers, never mind AI. Right?
Right.
And it's a testimony to the best of what we can do as human beings, as a species,
Hmm.
the coordination, the ingenuity, the
Hmm.
collaboration required to even attempt this is extraordinary.
So, what strikes me from a systems perspective is that by the time Apollo 13 launched, the networks weren't even covering it. So 17 months after the first moon landing, they thought it was uninteresting and too routine, if you can believe that.
Yeah, I mean, how fast do we as individuals and as a nation get complacent?
Right.
We'd already done the impossible once, so doing it again and again didn't seem like news.
That's so wild.
It is. And that's going all the time in all these different areas that we're going to talk about on this episode, this
Right.
this podcast.
Okay, so let's get to the woefully stupid part about the crisis and what it reveals to us. What went wrong with all the wickedly smart capability? What was the woefully stupid part?
Well, in the movie's case, and I think it reflects reality,
Mhm.
there was a design flaw that they discovered later.
Oh,
Something
in
about
the
how
investigation.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Something about how one of the systems had been tested at the wrong voltage,
Oh my gosh.
which weakened some components that eventually failed, which then
Oh,
led to the explosion.
wow.
But the broader lesson is that even with all that intelligence, all that
Mhm.
preparation, you
Mhm.
can't eliminate risk. Of course you
No,
can't. You
no, I
can
mean,
never
those are 3
control
million parts,
everything.
right?
Yes, right.
I mean, that's incredible that they got that much cohesion going on with that many parts and that many people in the first place. So that brings us to our metaphor, because we're watching this film now in 2025 with everything that's happening,
The polarization, the climate crisis, the breakdown of institutions.
right? And it feels like we're all on the same spacecraft. We're Apollo 13, and something has gone badly wrong with our mission.
Yeah. I mean, we have 8.4 billion people in a spacecraft called Earth, and we're all in the same situation. Ultimately, we are, certainly where we live is different, what we do is different, how much
Right.
money we have, all of who
Yeah,
we believe in or
a
whatever.
lot of diversity.
Yes, but basically we're all in the same situation. We're all Earthlings. Some of us are going to be impacted differently, but
Sure.
fundamentally, we're all affected by the same systems breaking down.
Yeah. So, we're talking about warming that's happening and the rate at which that's happening. Never happened before at this speed that we know of or that we, can detect from the past. There are just levels of social polarization. And then with all of our technology and all of our medicine and all of our economic development.
It's a sign that something has gone wrong with the mission. I mean,
Yeah.
something really wrong.
But I just want to push back a little bit on that framing, because I wonder if what we're experiencing isn't so much that something has gone wrong, but that the cracks that were there are just visible now.
Intuitively, that sounds right, but tell me more of what you're thinking.
So you like to talk a lot about like the golden age of democracy that you grew up in, like between 1945 and 1985. And just it was a really wonderful time and it was very stable, a lot of safety and that sort of thing. But as we've talked about, I was born during the Vietnam War. And my dad was in the Air Force in Thailand, and I grew up around, all these veterans who weren't treated well, many of whom were and still are homeless. And a lot died and are having a lot of health effects from the effects of Agent Orange. So for people like me, the breakdown you're describing has been happening my entire life.
Yes, you're right. I mean, that's a really important point.
Yeah.
What I was trying to do with Apollo 13 was what, of course, journalism does all the time, which is take something happening right now, or in
Yeah.
this case, one event that happened earlier, and
Mhm.
focusing so much on it, not seeing the broader context of how
Yeah.
we got to this place. Right?
Yeah.
So it was actually right. That's just, you're right. You are right.
Thanks.
And tell everybody you know. And I'm willing to put that on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome. You're welcome.
much.
Anyway, all of that created a temporary alignment.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. The Depression and World War II and things like that. And
Yeah,
this like historical moment and shared trauma
right.
that people put together, which is awesome, as this kind of time of stability.
I mean, there really were. There were, of course, the Red Scares. There
Yeah.
were civil
Hmm.
rights
Hmm.
is a huge issue.
Sure.
There were a lot of things going on.
Hmm.
Certainly, the Cold War but there was a sense of stability in which democracy, as I think is the best era of it, could
Mhm.
flourish. The conditions were right for
Yeah.
it to flourish.
Yeah, and with the civil rights movement, a lot of really good things came out of it. I mean, a lot of people are trying to reverse it even at this point, but so many good things came out of it. So as that alignment though fades, what we're seeing is that the systems that underlie it were just always very extractive, this kind of like me, capitalist, system that's been creating a lot of entropy. And in that period, we had just enough abundance for a while that none of that underlying unrest was obvious, I think.
That's right. No, I agree. Right.
Yeah.
So, given what we've already said, what I also want to talk about the film is I think it speaks directly to what we need to do now.
Uh-huh.
It's not just describing the situation. Okay, we're in a bad situation. It's a mess. We're in deep doo-doo. Now, what
Yes.
do we do to get
What do
out of the
we
doo-doo?
do? What do we do with the doo-doo?
Yes. This is Operation Doo-Doo.
Operation Doo-Doo.
So what's interesting, of course, in the film, particularly for
Okay.
those who've seen it, because you see this again and again, it's the
Mm.
constant communication between the three astronauts who are up in the spacecraft and
Yeah.
mission control in Houston.
Yeah.
And to me, it was just beautiful to watch how
Yeah.
the leader of mission control would work with all the different, must be 20, 30, I don't know, 40 experts in there,
Mhm.
how he is leading them, working with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me more about that. I'm really interested in it.
Well,
I
he would
love this take.
constantly say, "You're the expert in navigation. Tell me what
Hmm.
we need to do here. You're
Hmm.
the expert in medicine. What's going on right now? You
Hmm.
know your systems. Tell me what you're
Hmm.
seeing. Tell me what's possible."
Hmm.
He's not trying to have all the answers. As in nature, with nature has the conditions in which
Yeah.
all species, including us, have to adapt.
Right.
He's trying to create the conditions for the mission control entire staff there in Houston to adapt and allow their ingenuity to emerge.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. That's the kind of thing I like to talk about, as you know,
I
just
do.
creating conditions
Was
rather
that
than
a
controlling
nice lead in
outcomes.
for you?
Right. It was. It was perfect. So he can't know all the technical details. He's just one person, and that he has all these other people who are the experts in their area, and so he can just organize them and know he has the right people in the room, and then receive their input and make decisions based on that.
Right. Right. It's not based on party or
Right.
ideology
Right.
or religious beliefs or
Hmm.
anything.
Hmm.
It's
Or
technical
loyalty to him.
loyal to him. It's
Yeah.
technical answers to technical problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And based on
Exactly.
what he actually understands after he gets all of these various inputs from all the others, right? Is
Hmm.
okay, how can we move forward? Right? Because what he has
Hmm.
done is basically he's organized and governed that group.
Hmm.
He uses that group to get that information from all the various the systems people, medical
Sure.
people, et cetera, et
Sure.
cetera. And he understands that human behavior is they will get the best out of people if they are collaborating rather
Hmm.
than just somehow feeding him material and he's got to make decisions without really hearing what they have to say.
So there's the partnership. So this is connecting to something you and I have talked about before about like extractive industries versus distractive industries. Like I feel like we have both of those right now.
Yes. Do you like that phrase?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
I came
distractive.
up with it on a walk. It's one of those ahas, just popped right in, came in on the breeze. The extractive industries, mining, timber, oil,
Yeah,
all of those that take from under the earth, which is
right,
built up over millions, billions of years, right?
right.
But the distractive industries, entertainment, social media, endless content, including podcasts, they
Mm-hmm.
keep us from paying attention to the mission that's really right in front of us and the mission that's in crisis right now.
Right. And so with the Apollos 13, that wasn't an option. Everyone had to pay attention. And, including their families back home, engineers, the public, everyone was focused on the same question. Can we get them home alive?
Yeah. Which is a question we need to be asking ourselves now. Not can we get home,
Mm,
we are home, but can we stay alive on our
yeah,
home,
yeah.
given the conditions that we have created with all the pollution in the air, the chemicals in the blah, 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 all that we know.
Yeah.
Can we flourish here? Which is
Exactly.
the promise of being alive on Earth.
Gosh,
Right?
wouldn't that be awesome?
Mhm.
Okay, so here's where you always want to go, which is to the backcasting. So looking at the future that we want and then working backward to figure out how we get here.
That's right. I
Okay.
do want to amend something
Okay.
that I said before, because God
Okay.
forbid I could keep the same belief about these things for more than 12 minutes, right? When I first explained backcasting to you, I
Yeah.
made it sound like, I don't know, pure imagination. Oh, this is what I
Mhm.
want to have. Now
Right.
let me tell you how I'm going to get it. Right?
Yeah.
But actually, there's enormous progress already being made, and we're going to talk about a bunch of that over the various episodes that we do.
Right.
An incredible
Okay.
amount. Right?
Well, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is that if we look at the innovations happening right now, I mean, the
Mhm.
obvious ones are things like electric vehicles,
Mhm.
solar cells,
Mhm.
some of the no-till sustainable agriculture that's out
Yeah.
there, et cetera, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera, right? There's enough real progress in these that we can forecast from it. So we
Mm.
can look at what's already working
Mhm.
and project towards 2035 to envision what's possible.
Okay, so you're not saying like basically imagine a utopia from scratch. Like we just invent this utopia and then we decide how we're going to get there.
No, that's when we put a novel together, or
That's what I do.
we write a TV series together. No, I'm saying we had to look at the wickedly smart things that already exist, and there's
Mhm.
more and more of them every single day. And if
Yeah.
we can begin to imagine that what's happening already is that we can see
Mhm.
them at scale,
Mhm.
and then backcast from where we think they could get to in the next 10 years,
Mhm.
backcast to figure out, okay, what we have to do then the step before we get there, and then the step before that, and the step
Mhm.
before that, and that's how we backcast from today to tomorrow.
This is super interesting. I really like this perspective. This is something I love about you. Is it's not you're not just optimistic or Pollyanna. You're just like, these are the things I see that are going on, and how could we put some momentum behind them? So can you give us some examples of these things?
Yeah, for instance, and let me say that I got, some would say captivated, others might say obsessed by the amount of positive things happening that few of which ever really make it anywhere near the mainstream media, right?
Right.
In
Right.
fact, at one point, I had collected 3,200 of these stories, and
Yeah.
I finally stopped because there were too many in starting this project and
Too much good stuff, huh?
too much. There really is. I really need other
Hmm.
people to help with this.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, just here's a couple of examples from different places around the world.
Mhm.
Most of the time on this podcast, we'll focus more on the United States because
Sure.
that's at least for me, the only country I really know.
Yeah.
I can speak
The
of it.
one we're in.
Yeah, from a lived experience. Yes, right. Anyway, so in India, they're claiming now in about 4 years, they'll have 500 more gigawatts of renewable power
Oh,
capacity. I mean,
oh,
that's pretty good, right?
yeah.
Amazon, which I know for many people is a controversial company,
Mhm.
and
Sure.
understandably,
Mhm.
its chief sustainability officer is right now working on how to build their data centers, the centers that use dramatically less water and more energy efficient chips.
Mhm.
Yeah. Developing countries from Nepal to Costa Rica, more
Mhm.
people are buying electric cars than fossil fuel cars.
Oh
I mean,
man, they're ahead of
that makes
us
you end up,
that
I mean,
way.
really, wow. Right.
That's really cool. So what you're saying is that the wickedly smart solutions do exist. The technology is all there.
Yeah. Let me give you one more. I just find this
Okay.
one is I don't know, fun, interesting, whatever.
Sure.
It really struck me.
Mhm.
Mars, not the planets, the candy
Okay.
company, right?
Okay.
M&Ms, et cetera.
Okay.
They just announced they're investing their money
Hmm.
over $1 billion, with a B, in European Union manufacturing and sustainability practices in their factories in the EU. $1 billion
Wow.
to upgrade.
Wow, that must be really worth it to them for some reason.
Yeah,
Huh. Mars bars as a beacon of hope. Who knew?
exactly. I know. All across the country, we should be buying more bars.
I don't know about that,
Tell,
but
to
okay.
Tell them we support them.
Yeah,
and,
there we
and
have
they're
a sponsor,
supporting
our first
us.
sponsor.
Right. But I mean, when candy companies start investing in sustainability, something is shifting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one of the most commercial things, that there is.
And thankfully so.
Yeah. Okay. So if all these solutions
Mm.
exist, then what is the problem? Like we already have these things. Like, why aren't we just using them and going this direction that you see?
Well, I mean, and comes down to really political will. And the political will comes down to the will of the people who are electing the
Mm.
people who are in office, and also to the media companies. I mean, there's a lot of people involved with basically it's the human decision to not to do this,
Mm-hmm.
to either
Mm-hmm.
resist it or be
Mm-hmm.
willfully ignorant of it, or to
Mm-hmm.
say it's important, but then, get distracted with who knows what else
Sure.
without really looking at what I think are the critical questions in 2035. I want to know, how am I going to eat?
Yeah.
What am I going to eat? Where's the
Yep.
food going to be grown?
Yeah.
How am I going to take care of, grandkids?
Right.
Um, that today we don't look at 10 years out. We barely look at the next quarter. I
Yeah.
suppose we do that, but
Yeah.
anyway, that doesn't work.
Yeah. And that's why we need to make this real for people. This is not abstract. It's not some distant future, but what does your life look like in 2035 if we navigate this
Yeah.
well?
So let me ask you directly here a question.
Okay.
Right? As you're sitting there from your perspective here, what's our mission
Mm-hmm.
as we're putting together this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
And what's our mission, all of us on the spacecraft together, that we've got to accomplish?
Well, for me, I think the mission is to restore ecological function to human systems. So we're not trying to go back to some imagined past. We're trying to move forward to systems that work like healthy ecosystems do, where resources cycle instead of being extracted and just used up, and diversity makes us stronger, and collaboration creates more value than competition does on its
That's
own.
well said.
Yeah, thanks.
Nicely done. Yes, it as usually is, right? For me, it's about getting back to what I'd call a real American dream.
Mm.
I grew up with the American dream when it
Mm.
felt very real, which it doesn't now, I don't believe,
No,
for
it was
very
something
many
I studied
Americans.
in history books.
Yes, yeah, it's like the Magna Carta or something. It's
Yeah,
way back.
yeah,
And
yeah.
basically, the simplest definition of it that I have liked for many years is this: it's the
Mhm.
greatest good for the greatest number, and not the greatest good for the fewest number.
Which
Right?
sort of seems like we have right now.
Yeah.
And then for me, it's also just recognizing we're all in this together. All 8.4 billion of us are on this same spacecraft together.
Yes, with same basic space suit, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
with eyes and skin and all those things,
yeah,
just like the astronauts. And
yeah.
they couldn't afford to fight with each other. I mean, you can
Hmm.
imagine if they're getting into arguments, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
screaming at each other in the capsule. I mean, that's obviously not going to work. They're not
This
going to,
is a basic waste of oxygen.
exactly. They literally couldn't afford to
No.
give up the professionalism
Yeah,
that was so ingrained in them. Because the
yeah,
only way home was to work together, to
mhm,
use every resource they had, and to trust the people on the ground supporting them.
yeah, trusting, that's a big thing. And you know what also was awesome about the Apollo 13 movie was the families who were at home. And the movie really shows that, what's happening with them at home and just all the different generations and their fear and their hope and just a sense of waiting.
You said earlier, you mentioned briefly being you grew up in the Vietnam area. Your father had been
Mhm,
in the
mhm,
service in
mhm,
Thailand.
mhm,
That you were around a bunch of families.
mhm.
Right? I mean, can you talk about a little bit of that?
Gosh, I don't know. I just remember thinking that there was such a huge variety in people's reactions and responses. And there were people who, were in terrible situations in Vietnam and came back and had fairly normal lives. And then there were people who just couldn't even reconnect or associate with society and, just got lost in the cracks. And my dad never talked about it. The only times I ever heard him talk about it were when a friend of ours who was in the military would come to visit, and then he would talk about his time in the military. And I didn't know that he spoke Thai until a Thai woman came to visit a friend of ours, and we had dinner with her, and he was speaking Thai with her. And as far as I knew, my dad only speaks English. So it was just so much variety in the way that all these different people who had gone and had this similar experience were responding. And that's just what struck me a lot, was this huge variety. And I know that when I was in college, a younger woman she was annoyed because there had been a homeless vet with a sign that said homeless Vietnam vet when she was on her way to work, and he had asked her for some money or something, and she said, "Oh gosh, Vietnam happened so long ago, just get over it."
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
And I was thinking that's the kind of, I was really shocked, she was just enough younger
Yeah.
that her parents weren't in that war, and it wasn't real to her, and she was not, connected to it, and didn't understand why someone would be that, messed up psychologically and have their life ruined by it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, see, I didn't grow up around military families or bases. I mean, I
Yeah.
grew up in basically an immigrant city outside of Boston. My mother had been born in the Ukraine. My father was first generation born here.
Oh, wow.
But that was mostly the community. And the only one I remember growing up as a kid who actually had served in the military was an uncle who was much older than I was, but he had been in the Navy in World War II.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there's all these different responses, whether you're in wars, you're not in wars, all
Mhm.
of those things, we're all affected by that same system.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
even now that there are such enormous differences in the beliefs we have as Americans, the places we come from, the
Mhm.
things that really upset us,
Mhm.
all of that's very real, and a critical step we all have to take, which is to get past that and share the value that we have to get through this very tough time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
um,
And I mean, even if we solve all these big systemic problems and we figure out all the political will and the economic models, all of that, then we just still have to figure out how to be present with each other and how to hold our families and communities together through all of this.
yeah, that's a whole other thing, but
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
would
And
be easier if we didn't hate each other.
it would. I mean, sometimes it feels harder than all that big system change, just like
Yeah,
keeping my own family connected and holding them together. And that's its own mission entirely.
yeah, it is. And the levels of stress that
Mm.
people have been under for so long. Anyway, material for future episodes to talk
Yeah.
about that and how to relieve that, a
Yeah.
lot of that, hopefully in the next 10 years if we get lucky here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we need both that intimate scale and a system scale. And we need to wait for everyone to heal their family relations. We can't wait for everyone to heal
Yeah,
their family relationships before we address things like climate change and, inflation and polarization and our healthcare crises and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. Yeah. My vote is that we can somehow find our way. Not that it's easy, but that heck, we've done this many times in human history, found our ways out of tough situations and
Yeah.
get us to a different place, and we can build a safer, a
Mhm.
saner, and a stabler world.
Mm.
Wouldn't I? I think that'd be pretty nice. I'd vote for that.
I would I would vote for it too, let me tell you. I really would, especially right now. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's what I'm taking from our discussion of Apollo 13. Desperate times really do call for disparate measures,
Meaning?
meaning we need the wickedly smart technical solutions like renewable energy, sustainable systems, all that stuff that we've been talking about. But then we also need something that's harder to measure, which is the capacity to work together under pressure, to stay focused on the mission and to trust the people around us, even when everything's going wrong.
The astronauts did that. The engineers had that.
Yeah,
Um, hopefully we do.
yeah,
They brought them home alive, and hopefully we'll all bring ourselves home alive.
yeah, yeah.
I'm laughing, but it's serious.
No, it is serious, but it just feels like so out of reach right now in some ways. So our question is, can we do that now? Can we organize 8.4 billion people around the world in a shared mission?
You know, probably not.
Right.
But I think the good news is we don't need all 8.4 billion.
Yeah.
The holdouts can be holdouts. We don't need everybody. We just need a critical mass of people who understand, really understand that we're in a crisis and they're really willing to work together instead of fighting each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And who can hold both the wickedly smart and the woefully stupid at the same time. You know, that's what we are. We're flawed, we're human, we're amazing, we're brilliant, all at the same time. And we need to be able to see the 3 million parts and then also see the design flaw. And we need to celebrate the innovation while also acknowledging the extractive systems underneath it that we need to start healing.
That's the work.
And the podcast.
It is.
Okay, so listeners, if we have, one or more of you, we would love to hear from you if you've seen Apollo 13 and tell us how it hits you, if it resonates with you in some of the ways it resonates with us as a metaphor for where we are now. Or do you have another movie or a different story or something that helps you make sense of this moment right now? We'd love to hear about it.
And if you're working on wickedly smart solutions in your corner of the world, we want to hear about those too. They're really, really, really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you can contact us, reach out to us on our Substacks. Thanks so much for listening.
See you next week.
Yeah.